Good morning, my friends, wherever you may be in the world today. Alan Clements here from Hawaii, the occupied islands in the Pacific by the United States of America. Today, August 26th, 2021. I hope you are in heart, that you are healthy, that you are living in the most beautiful way that you can in this complex context in the world, in Afghanistan, in Myanmar. Today's sharing for my family in Burma, a continuation of yesterday, a humble tribute to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Primarily in Myanmar, for the people of Myanmar, and of course for the people around the world who draw sustenance, integrity, vitality, inspiration from these three ancient Pali Buddhist words: Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. In my own complex way, I am a son of the Buddha. I feel that. And I mean an individual myself who has found resonance with teachings or Dhamma teachings found within the classical Theravadan system of the teachings attributed to the Buddha in the country of Burma and Myanmar. And many of you know, those of you who don't, I was blessed through a very odd serendipity of adventure, choice, trauma, and instinct and parami. I found myself in the mid-1970s meeting the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw in his home village in northern Burma, where, having read his book some years before on the classical instructions of Satipatthana Vipassana meditation, the practice of mindfulness in all context, I sought him out and I asked to ordain. I was refused by the Venerable Sayadaw simply based upon we live in dictatorship and long-term visas are not available to foreigners. Some years back, some years after that, I invited the Venerable Sayadaw along with some other people to America, where I organized a retreat in Southern California for him and another one on the East Coast. And at the end of that period in New York, in May of 1979, I became a samanera, or a novice monk, under the guidance of my preceptor, the Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw. I was given the name Agasara, Sunday born. And I was 29 at the time. I flew back with the Venerable Sayadaw and other monks, including the Venerable Sayadaw U Janaka, who was appointed as my earliest meditation guide. And I entered the country of Burma and was taken to the Mahasi Thatanayeka in Rangoon, given a room by the former Prime Minister, one of the founders of the Mahasi Center, UNU, a room that was built for him. He was either under house arrest at the time or in exile. I'm not sure exactly. I did meet him sometime after that. I've known his family. I recently met his youngest daughter in Rangoon. I bring this up as the foundation of today's tribute to the family, my family in Burma, the family of freedom fighters, the family of those who aspire to bring forth democracy, but specifically a tribute to Buddha, to the Dhamma, and to the Sangha in Myanmar. I am who I am as a result of my time throughout my entire life, to state the obvious, but specifically, I had never been so nurtured in so many ways that continue to nurture me, even being outside of the country, by my few years as a member of the Sangha in the country of Burma, in the Mahasi Thatanayeka in Rangoon, under the guidance of the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw and Sayadaw U Sujata, Sayadaw U Zawana, Sayadaw U Janaka, and eventually when the Sayadaw passed away in August 1982, where I was there when he had his stroke, I was there when he died, and the Ovadacharya became Sayadaw U Pandita, who became my teacher at that time. And I pay tribute to him both as Kalyanamita and as incredible friend and father. And I could say so many things about my love of my family in Myanmar, my love of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. I'd never felt so taken in, if you will, brought into the ancient vehicle of the sasana embodied by the Sangha. And there was something so miraculous as I reflect upon that period of time, because in August of 1979, I took my higher ordination under the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw and became a full bhikkhu, an individual dedicated to the overcoming of his kilesa, his defilements, and the evolution, the creative evolution of the development of one's own sobhana cetasikas, beautiful states of mind, patience, kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, determination, renunciation, mindfulness, intentionality, truthfulness, the beautiful states of mind. And there I was introduced to the concept of Dhamma. And so I would like to share just a few of the attributes of the Dhamma life that I've come to love over the decades from my first encounter with it, and nurtured by the beloved people, both the nuns and the monks and the lay people of Burma, to the greatest gift of my life, and from my most humble acknowledgement to you in this moment of struggle, in this moment of complexity. You have someone, and there are many, I'm one among many, who bow to your beauty, your courage, your fortitude, your wisdom, to have kept in your own individual ways the Buddha and the Dhamma and the Sangha alive. As a monk, I saw that my existence was inseparable from the laity of the city, of the country. And a beautiful mosaic of interdependent caring and generosity and loyalty. What a gift of the experience of family at a level beyond kin and relative and blood. So that is a huge gift to me. And I want to acknowledge straight away the beauty of that gift. The beauty of that gift, and how it has not only stayed with me, but nurtured every fiber of my being every element of what I consider to be honorable in my mind, in my soul, in my body, in my relationships, came as a result. I bless my mom and dad and educators, but it came primarily from my Dhamma family of the Sangha, of nuns and monks and lay people in my beloved country of Burma. I want to pay tribute to you today, tribute to the greatest gift of my life, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And some of the attributes, just extemporaneously. From a young age, I would call a wonderment and awe, a terror of context, the universe. It was so foreign, so mysterious, so spellbinding, and juxtaposed with wars and genocides and crimes against humanity and the desecration of the environment, and the mystery with the convulsion. I found a term for it through the country of Burma, through the monks and nuns, samsara. You framed existence in a way that discerned lawful conditions for the arising of something. That you could be in awe of the rainbow, but a rainbow was the result of light and moisture and sight, and therein lies the rainbow. It wasn't a permanent entity. It was a phenomena of conditions. Samsara, the phenomena of infinite conditions made real on the infinite tapestry of present time interrelatedness. And right there, that context framing was further distinguished by the experiential nature of Dhamma. I mean, I never really understood the distinction until I arrived in the monastery and began to meditate under the guidance of these sayadaws. The distinction between the direct taste, the felt sensation, and the idea of that sensation. The difference between eating and the nutrient of the food. The difference between breathing and being oxygenated by the air rather than the idea that I'm about to breathe. The immersion in water as very distinct and different than the idea of swimming or bathing or showering. That therein lies a great gift that I've received, which is how to be in direct experience and to understand both the unique, if you will, the unique nature of the experience. Color is color, sound, auditory vibration on the ear, the interpretation of the sound to be that of a bird, and we hear the bird in the mind, and we see the bird flying through the mind sky, and all of a sudden the sound of the bird stops, and we hear sound. We see image. We have thought. The distinction between ideation and direct experience, that I have a choice, figuratively speaking, in the architecture, in the experience, in the creation of my own mind. And so the first attribute that's interwoven in this sharing today, my tribute to the people of Burma and my tribute to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, is I found a vocation, a resonance for that vocation in Burma, which was the empowerment of the study of consciousness. It wasn't a religion, it wasn't a philosophy, it was a direct pointing out through your own initiative, young monk, if you so choose, ehi pasiko, come and see for yourself, through the direct experience of something as it is in the moment, the taste of something. Is it salty? Is it sweet? Is it bitter? Is it sour? Is it tart? Is it bland? Is it neutral? Is there a Vedana associated with it? Is it pleasant or unpleasant? An unpleasant sweet taste, a thought about the pleasant sweet taste, and beginning to see the direct distinction between the idea and the direct experience. And then the study of consciousness in the machinations of how we create joy, freedom, compassion, or self-doubt, or anger, or shame. You can begin to see through your own meditative practice the empowered, direct experiential study of consciousness. You can see how you architect. One of the greatest gifts I've gotten out of Myanmar in Burma and monasticism and Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha is the study of the Four Noble Truths. The truth of dukkha, the cause of dukkha, suffering, the freedom from suffering, and the journey, the path, the discernible steps, the eightfold path to challenge the machinations of primordial delusion and greed, lobha and dosa, anger and resistance, challenging those primordial forces from their arising through the power of the mindful, concentrated, effortful presence to see the truth of that phenomena. You have a choice right there in the moment to exercise Dhamma, to realize Buddha awakening into freedom, and embody the virtue of Sangha. Choice making in regard to overcoming the First Noble Truth, the relaxation of attachment, a momentary taste of nibbana, or the absence of kilesa, and the joy that comes from knowing that you, figuratively speaking, made concrete, discernible steps to exercise nibbana, mindful nibbana in the moment, to relax primordial attachment on the configurations of consciousness and the development of sobhana cetasikas, beautiful states of mind. Thank you, Burma. Thank you, Buddha. Thank you, Dhamma. Thank you, Sangha. Thank you, bhikkhunis. Thank you, lay people, the inseparable unity of the laity with the Sangha in Burma, a tapestry of beauty, a tapestry of dana, generosity, a tapestry of moral integrity, sila, a tapestry of mutual bhavana, the beautification of consciousness in the collective, not just as an individual. Another attribute that I admire is a teaching, and I use the word teaching here to point to Dhamma, a set of conditions, discernible, repetitive conditions that can be employed. The Eightfold Path is a set of conditions that can be employed repeatedly to challenge the second noble truth of attachment to sense desire, to concepts, to time, to self, to gender, to fear itself, to relax attachment to dukkha. A teaching for all contexts. I mean, I love education, but the Dhamma is a behavioral education to look at how to improve the quality of our speech, our thoughts, our actions, right thought, right speech, right intention, right concentration, right effort, right livelihood. So many ways to look at a high degree of the word right, which is a degree of intelligent engagement that makes what we think, speak, and act profitable and beneficial and beautiful for self, and potentially, if one has the eye and the ear in the Dhamma receptivity to hear that is delightful, profitable, and beneficial for you as well. A teaching of restraint when there is anger and righteousness and violence brought to you. A teaching to exercise khanti, patience, when there is a troublesome event in which we cannot really resolve the dilemma of a choice at the moment. So we must sit in dynamic stillness with complexity, khanti, sitting cognitively poised in complexity for the purpose of higher learning. That's a beautiful facet of the empowered experiential study of consciousness, just khanti alone, the willingness to abide in a dignified, poised awareness within uncertainty and doubt and complexity, and keep on keeping on to learn slowly within that complexity until there's something of a release from the fear or the shame or the struggle, and all of a sudden the revolution of the spirit through khanti and concentration and mindful intelligence and poised awareness and determination and the root of ethical intelligence, courageous sila, courageous morality, unbending morality. So many of the monks and nuns and the lay people in Burma, I learned from them an unbending, an unyielding ethical root in dana, sila, bhavana. And of course we see corruptions all over the world. We see the corruption of consciousness among many in Burma, within the military, with Ming Online, with Tan Shui, with the cronies that support through collusion for their abject satanic need for profit. Dhamma offers clarity of context in all contexts, and having a teaching to bring forth to help deliver the human mind in a complex moment to overcome fear, overcome doubt, overcome shame, overcome blame, overcome violence, and to elevate the good, the true, and the beautiful. Another attribute that I would say from my experience in Burma as a monk and both as a layperson in the country is the experiential and the transformational nature of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. The experiential and the transformational nature, that you are immersed in the life experience, and Dhamma with vocation of awakening, or Buddha. And we're all members of the Sangha if we embody the lawfulness of Dhamma. It doesn't mean that you need to be a monk or a nun. How many times I would hear that the Buddha would say to people, a true bhikkhuni or a true bhikkhu is not one who renounces the world or shaves her or his head, dons the mahogany robe, and lives in isolated environments. No. The true nun, the true monk, the true warrior, if you will, in Dhamma is one who has nekamad, renounced, and is in the process of courageous renunciation of what? The renunciation of attachment to righteous indignation, the renunciation of the grasping to self-identity in pride, in exaggerated dimensions of self-respect, to conceit, to narcissism, and the pride inherent, the mana inherent in delusional identities to the attachment to self. And so that nekama, that renunciation, of greed, anger, and delusion. I thank you, people of Myanmar. I thank you, Sayadaws. I thank you, Sayalis. I thank you, lay women and lay men. I thank you for those who've lived and given me the support through medicines and robes and hope and caring. I thank you for your gift of Dhamma, your perseverance of Dhamma, your love of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. A few other attributes, and I will end today's short tribute to my family in Burma and to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha. Other attributes that come to mind: honor, loyalty, accountability, truthfulness, excellence, purification, dedication, sharing, caring, family, honor, loyalty, accountability, purification, excellence, dedication, sharing, caring, family, excellence, purification, accountability, loyalty, honor, truthfulness. These are all things, all qualities of consciousness. I don't know that I would be able to utter those words with any degree of confidence if it wasn't for my months and years and time. And I don't use time as the issue, it's the associations with the people of Burma. All ethnicities, all languages that I've been gifted to experience, all religions, the beauty of how you've learned to coexist under the most harsh and cruel conditions of war and occupation by an imperialistic, genocidal outsider, and the convulsions of decades of dictatorship, a trauma response to trauma, and here within it, the fiery conviction in nonviolent revolution to stand true, to make a Dhamma that exceeds the monastic walls and goes into society and crosses barriers and boundaries and includes even the enemy. Where in the world do we see the Dhamma of reconciliation brought forth as a concept by my late teacher, the Venerable Sayadaw U Pandita? Just to even hear the word reconciliation. Our freedom will never be complete unless we break bread in solidarity even with the enemy. That is so biblical, that is so Dhammic, it's so powerful, so pure. Honor, loyalty, accountability, purification, excellence, dedication, sharing, caring, family, truthfulness, experiential, transformational nature, the study of consciousness, the good, the true, and the beautiful, the overcoming of grasping and fear. These lawful teachings found within Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. From my heart to yours, people of Burma, in your moment of darkness, there is so much light in the resourcefulness of just feeling, as you know so well, feeling into the history of your love of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and to be a participant in that evolutional complexity, keeping the light of that around the world. We are born from the teachings of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. The word mindfulness, best kept by the people of South Asia and truly kept in its finest purity of expression in Myanmar by the Sangha and by the lay people. What a gift you are in your courage, in your wisdom, in your compassion, in your struggle for democracy and freedom. I'll close with a short story. Many of you know that I was allowed into the country by the late dictator Ne Win, who then eventually, when he stepped aside, he appointed other military people to follow in his footsteps. Salmong, Tan Shui to the present Ming Online, Tain Sein, Kin Yunt, so many of these men driven by the toxicity of their moha, of their mana, their conceit, aberrant. I was told to leave the monastery several times. And I left, went to India, went to Sri Lanka, went to Thailand, went to Australia. I was a monk in America, briefly. Came back each time to Burma, to my family, both in the monastery and the people I had met through the monastery, all throughout the country. Brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles. I never had felt such a bond to Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha through the people of your country. And then there was a final time I was told to leave by Ne Win, and told to leave within 24 hours. And so I decided to disrobe as a member of the Sangha at this time. It was a very painful decision. This was truly my family. And I disrobed with the late Venerable Sayadaw U Pandita. And through my tears, he consoled me. I think this was back in '84. And if I remember correctly, he said to me that the seeds of purification are within you. Nurture them and you will awaken. The form is useful, but it is awareness that liberates. The seeds of purification are within you. Nurture them and you will awaken. The form is useful, but it is awareness that liberates. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu to the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw, to the late Venerable Sayadaw U Pandita and Usujata, my respect to my supporters as a monk, the late Do Yin Yin, Hussein Win, to the thousands of monks and nuns that I met over the decades in Burma, to the lay people who both offered alms food to me throughout my years in the country, who brought medicines, who took care of me at times when I was ill. I'm just thinking here quietly, the generations upon generations of good people in the ancient land of Myanmar that kept alive through millions of interactions with themselves and their families and even enemies and wars. Look at the history of your country. And within that there was the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha. And I, born into an ancient, distant land, America, Boston, and somehow found my way all the way to your blessed country based upon these ancient teachings attributed to the Buddha, to study and to evolve consciousness, to overcome as much as humanly possible in this lifetime fear, greed, and delusion, and to exalt freedom. And so from my heart to yours, people of Burma, I bow to your courage, your goodness, your fortitude. You are not alone. Millions of us around the world who have benefited by your courage and your dedication to the sasana. We bow to you, we see you, we love you, and we draw strength from your courage and from your ongoing dedication to keep alive these timeless, radiant teachings of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. There will come a time when your country is liberated from the grip of this military dictatorship. I do believe that the radiance of Dhamma and democracy and revolutionary action, although dark at the moment, it will have its moment of light and liberation. And from my heart to yours, thank you for your ongoing example of courage and grace under pressure. I draw strength from you every day of my life. And to the best of my ability, I will keep my Dhamma active and alive and do all that I possibly can in this life to continue to support you in your brilliant, courageous struggle for freedom. So thank you, thank you, thank you.